Why am I living in the hospital for 3 weeks before baby arrives?
Okay, so this person's been admitted to the hospital late into their pregnancy, but they're looking completely well. She's there because of Vasa Praevia. So let's break it down and explain exactly what is going on here. So Vasa Praevia is a very rare condition. It affects between 1 in 1,200 and 1 in 5,000 pregnancies. And it's where the blood vessels that are traveling from your baby to the placenta is not protected by any placental tissue or the umbilical cord. So they pass really near to the cervix. These blood vessels are very delicate and they can tear. So if you go into labour or if your waters break, this is very dangerous because the blood that's lost actually comes from your baby. So it doesn't come from the placenta, from the maternal circulation. It comes from the baby. And babies only have a very small amount of blood in their body. So if these blood vessels break and they start to lose their blood, it doesn't take very much blood to be lost before they become very unwell or even die. So up to 6 in 10 babies who are affected by Vasa Praevia can die if those blood vessels rupture. So even if you're fine, being admitted to hospital is a precaution taken usually if you have Vasa Praevia. And that's because if you do start to go into labour or your waters break, there is very little time to safely deliver your baby. So if your healthcare professional suspects that you've got Vasa Praevia when you go into labour or when your waters break, your baby needs to be delivered urgently or even immediately. And this would usually be via an emergency cesarean section, the quickest way to get that baby delivered. So how do we know if someone has Vasa Praevia? Well, it's usually identified through a detailed ultrasound scan. So they can spot these abnormal vessels. Sometimes there's a suggestion of them and you might have a more detailed scan at a later date, but early detection is really key to ensure that we can make these plans for delivery. So if you have a low placenta or if you're carrying more than one baby, or if your placenta or your umbilical cord develops in a slightly unusual location, you might be at higher risk of having Vasa Praevia. And so you should be offered an extra scan during your pregnancy to check if you've got that condition. If you are found to have Vasa Praevia before you go into labour, we'd usually recommend you have a planned cesarean section around 34 to 36 weeks of pregnancy. And that does mean that your baby will probably be born preterm because the risk is too high that you could potentially go into labour when it's not expected. So you'd probably be offered some steroids, 2 injections that are given 12 to 24 hours apart to help to mature your baby's lungs and other organs if they're born early. So being admitted and having a planned delivery might seem overwhelming, but it's all about keeping you and your baby safe. If you have experienced this condition, you've got any tips for how you manage to share with other parents, do leave them below.